Some stories entertain, some stories teach,
And some stories change the world.
this is one of them.
The Old Man in the Sea is a world-famous masterpiece written by the American writer Ernest Hemingway. Traveled from a tiny village in Cuba to every corner of the world.
It won the Pulitzer Prize in 1953 and Helmut Manguei won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1954.
It has been translated into more than 40 languages, presented on stages, adapted into films, and studied in classrooms across the globe.
But why?
Why do people everywhere still read it, tell it, and love it?
This is because it's more than just a fishing story. It's a story about courage, about resilience, about a battle between a man and the sea. Let's meet the characters. First, there's Santiago,
An old fisherman, once strong, once respected, once known as the best in the village. But for 84 days, Santiago caught nothing, not even a small fish.
Then there is Manolo, the boy, a young boy who learned everything about fishing from Santiago. The boy loves Santiago as a grandfather, but after so many days without fish, the boy's parents forced him to use Santiago's boat. They told him to work with younger, luckier fishermen instead.
And then there's the marlin, the fish, a giant, powerful fish, the greatest Santiago had ever seen. The marlin wasn't just any fish, it was a fish that would test Santiago's courage, strength, and spirit.
For 84 days, Santiago went out to sea, but caught nothing. Day after day, he returned empty-handed. The villagers whispered, "Unlucky, unlucky, too old, his time is over." Manolin, the boy, wanted to stay by Santiago's side, but the boy's parents said, "Find a luckier boat, leave the old man." But the boy still believed. Every night, the boy visited Santiago, bringing food, talking about the days they would fish together again. But on the 85th day, before the sun rose, Santiago took his small boat and rowed further than ever before, further than the other boats, further than the safe water. He was alone with the sea, his old friend, and his greatest enemy.
Santiago dropped his line into the deep, dark water. The sun climbed higher, the sea lay silent, and then a pull so strong. This was no ordinary fish. This was the marlin, the fish, the king of the sea. The fish dragged the boat far from shore. Hour after hour, the old man held on. One day passed, then two, then three. Santiago's hands were torn, his back ached, but he whispered to himself, "A man can be destroyed, but never defeated." On the third day, with the last of his strength, Santiago lifted his harpoon and struck. The marlin, the fish, jumped high into the air, then fell still. The battle was over. Santiago had won.
But the sea never gives without taking something back. The marlin's blood filled the water, and from the deep, the sharks came. One shark, then too many to count. They wanted Santiago's prize. He fought them with his harpoon. When the harpoon broke, he fought with his oar. When the oar broke, he fought with his bare hands. But the sharks took everything. By the time Santiago reached the shore, nothing was left but the skeleton of the marlin.
The villagers stood in silence, staring at the bones. They didn't call him unlucky anymore. They saw the truth. He had fought the greatest battle of his life. And even though the sea took his fish, it could never take his spirit.
What did he really win?
Not money, not fame, not a fish.
He won the hardest fight of all, the fight with himself.
Presented by Emma Ayman.
Farah Haysat, Maryam Ahmed.
Today we will tell you the story of Peter Pan, a magical tale loved by children and adults all over the world.
The story was written by Janet Matthew Beck, a Scottish writer in 1904. As a play, later in 1911, he turned it into a novel called Peter Pan the Movie.
In 1953, Disney made the story into an animated movie called Peter Pan. It became one of the most famous Disney films. Many versions of Peter Pan
were made after that, including live-action movies.
The movie had unforgettable characters. Peter Pan, the boy who never grows up. Wendy Darling, a kind and brave girl. John and Michael Dummy, Wendy's younger brother. Tinkerbell, Peter's tiny fairy friend. Captain Hook, the evil pirate who wanted to defeat Peter Pan. And Smee, Captain Hook's funny and clumsy assistant.
Now, let's take you to Neverland and tell you the story of Peter Pan and Wendy.
This is Halim Mohammed.
And I'm Ayasan.
As grade 6 students, we are honored to be part of Holy Family's Got Talent today. It's our pleasure to share with you a story that reflects our passion and dedication to excellence. Let's get started.
Once upon a time, in the kingdom of Ivala, where the star shone brighter than anywhere else, and the river sparkled like silver, Princess Lydia was born. She was a girl of rare beauty with golden hair that glowed like the sun, and blue eyes that seemed endless, like the deep sea. But what made her truly special was her pure heart filled with kindness and courage.
Lydia spent her childhood in a grand palace. On the hill of flowers, she wandered through green meadows, sang to birds, and helped the poor, never caring about her royal status. But on a moonlight night, something unexpected happened.
At midnight, the earth trembled suddenly, and one by one, the stars like fairy until the sky was completely dark. The next morning, everything in the kingdom began to wither. The rivers dried up, the trees lost their leaves, and the sky turned grey, as if it were preparing for an endless storm.
The kingdom's wise men gathered. The king and queen stood sadly in the thorn hole. The royal magician stepped forward and said with a trembling voice, "The moon's tears have been stolen. Those tears keep our kingdom's light alive. The Shadow King has taken them and hidden them in his castle at the end of the world."
A deep silence filled the entire hall, until Lydia bravely stepped forward and said, "I will go and bring them back."
The king and queen tried to stop her, but she was determined. She had always heard that the brightest light did not come from magic, but from a brave heart.
So, Lydia set off on her white horse Silver toward the end of the world, where the Shadow King castle stood. The journey was long and full of dangers. She crossed enchanted forests filled with mythical creatures, climbed snowy mountains, and traveled across endless plains.
At each stop, Lydia faced strange challenges. She had to solve riddles posed by the ancient forest guardians and cross a misty bridge that only appeared to those with pure hearts.
But the hardest test came when she reached a small village suffering from a terrible drought. An old woman came to her and asked for help. "Princess, we can't grow our crops, and our well has dried up. Our children's heart to grow weaker. Can you help us?"
Lydia looked into the well. It was deep, but completely dry. She had no water to give, but she took a small jewel from her pocket, a gift from her father, and said, "This jewel is from our palace. If you sell it, you can buy food and water for your people."
The old woman took the jewel, her eyes filled with gratitude. At the moment,
And I'm a 6th grade student. Today, I'm going to be presenting The Tempest, written by William Shakespeare around 1611. It is one of his last plays, set on a magical island where Prospero, the exiled Duke of Milan, uses his magical powers to seek revenge on those who betray him. The play explores themes of love, power, forgiveness, and redemption, blending the elements of romance, intrigue, and the nature of reality. And now, let's start the play. The play opens with a violent storm at sea, which causes a shipwreck. The ship is carrying Alonso, the King of Naples, his son, Ferdinand, Antonio, the Duke of Milan, and others. The storm is no accident. It is conjured by the magician Prospero, who rules the isolated island where the events take place. Prospero, once Duke of Milan, was usurped from his position by his brother Antonio, who conspired with Alonso to exile him. Prospero and his daughter Miranda have lived on the island for 12 years, ever since they were cast away. Using his magical powers, Prospero causes the shipwreck and plans to use this event to get revenge on his brother Antonio.
Today,
I'll present one of the most beloved and famous poems written by William Shakespeare. It's called Shall I Compare Thee to a Summer's Day? This poem is about someone who's truly special, someone who is loved deeply. It shows us that true love can last forever. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more tender. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May. In summer's leaf hag, all too short a day. Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shine, and often is his gold complexion dim, and every fair from fair sometime decline, by chance from nature's changing course untrimmed. But the eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair though wanders, nor shall death brag.
Performance by Laura Betty. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a tale of passion, fate, and tragedy. A tale from the heart of Verona, where the ancient feud between two noble families, Montague and Capulet, fuels hatred in every corner. For years their enmity has spilled blood, divided the streets, and torn apart the peace. But love does not obey rules. Love knows no boundaries. And so, in the heart of this ancient rivalry, two young souls meet. Their love is pure, but fate is cruel. This is the story of Romeo and Juliet, the most famous love story ever told, written by the great William Shakespeare. One evening, the Capulets are hosting a grand ball, and amidst the laughter and music, a young Montague, Romeo, sneaks in, hidden behind a mask. He's not welcome here, but when his eyes fall upon Juliet, the beautiful Capulet daughter, everything else fades away. In that one moment, their souls recognize each other. As he reaches for her hand, he whispers softly, I profane with my unworthiest hand this holy shrine, the gentle flame is this. Juliet blushes, a smile forming on her lips. But before they can talk any further, a shadow falls upon them. Juliet's nurse rushes to her, whispering urgently in her ear, that young man is a Montague. The words hit Juliet like a storm. The enemy, her family's greatest foe. Yet, despite the storm brewing within her, she cannot forget it. Later that night, under the quiet sky, Juliet stands on her balcony, gazing at the stars. She says softly, she whispers, Oh Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo? Deny thy father, refuse thy name. Unseen by her, Romeo stands below. He takes a step forward and says softly, With most light wings I have crossed these walls. They confess their love under the moon's glow, knowing the price they must pay.